Hello and welcome to this edition of Going Public. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it very, very much. And always glad to be joined by Chris Pulaski. Chris, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Of course, Chris, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government Zoning and Planning Director, amid other things.
Yeah.
And so always involved in so many things. But we appreciate it because you take the time to come on and kind of share with us updates and things that are happening. One of those really big things, and people can see it, I wish we had just a huge sign as you come into downtown that says, pardon our construction, we're in the midst of progress.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
Exactly. I mean, I know it's a hassle. It's inconvenient. Traffic, sometimes lanes get blocked and stuff. But, you got to break some eggs to make a cake, right? So, we have a lot of projects going on downtown. We have the Rotary Centennial Plaza, and I would encourage everybody to continue to patronize those businesses.
Yes.
Mahoney's, Milano, Tommy Garisco's Downtown Joe, Lindsay Sinak, and then Le Bougie in the corner there. So, those folks are really, they're taking the hit for a lot of us, but at the end of the day, that's going to be a fantastic space. There's also crews out working, particularly at the corners. And that's DOTD's crews. They're doing a sidewalk rehab. Basically what they're doing, putting in handicap access ramps at all of the corners. And then they might be doing some sidewalk repair, but they are aware of the Mardi Gras seasons coming up.
Right. And
they will hold off. I think they told me February 10th through the 26th or something. So they'll get out of there in time for Mardi Gras. The Rotary Plaza project will continue throughout the Mardi Gras season, but our contractors have to make some adjustments for that.
Yeah, and so we as patrons need to make some adjustments as well. I always recommend for people to go downtown and see some of the progress. And while you're there, go and like you said, patron some of those people that don't have a street in front of their business anymore, where it was convenient for people to originally just kind of go and park and walk a little bit. It's good exercise. It's good weather. Go walk a little bit and go and share some business with them.
That's right. And there's a lot going on downtown to head down for, like the grand opening of the Le Petit Theater. We just had that. So that's something that a lot of people have been very excited. It looks fantastic.
It really does.
Have you been in there?
I have. I was fortunate enough to spend some time with Gordy last week, and to spend some time with some of the people that brought that through to fruition. And so with Narby as well, and just 10-year project. And it was really interesting to me. I love the fact that the theater people. We're a different breed, and I say we because I'm part of that group. I've been on stage multiple times and have loved it, but we don't always organize as well. We're some of those thinkers on the other side of the brain. But the fact that all of those things came together as well as it did, and the parish stepping up and really making a difference to really beautify that. Gordy, one of the comments that he made, went in, they said they're going to keep the same seats, and he kind of reached down in a seat to get up, and he felt gum under there. He was like, no, we're going to change these out. And it was just it's again, this parish stepping up to work with the different entities to make sure that things are done right, and it's appreciated.
Yeah, and that's a great example of that community spirit that we have in Terrebonne. And Ann Piku will talk about it every time she's on, I'm sure, is the success of all these projects. Really, it is critical or dependent upon the partnerships that we have. I mean, it seems just about every project that we have going on, at least successful ones, involve lots of different either departments within the parish or, more often than not, entities around the parish. Right. I mean, Rotary Plaza's one. Obviously, the Rotary clubs were part of that. The bandstand is another. Hash grant. So, I mean, you don't have to go very far to see if we're going to get some or make a successful endeavor. It's going to involve more than one group participating. And
it talks about the value of partnerships and being open to those partnerships. That's the other big thing. Being open to those partnerships and decreasing ego to go, all right, what's the best way to do this?
Yeah.
And say, maybe this organization or entity is better at doing this. Kind of goes back to how we developed a program for campers through the state instead of FEMA. Again, it's just one of those things that have made a huge difference.
Well, and the
partnerships.
The Main Street Master Plan, the Main Street Corridor Master Plan is another example of that, because with all the different groups that we have involved in that project, and it's, just now getting started. It's in the early planning stages. But you have all these different groups, so by involving them all, you're able to bring the best talents that each group has and the specialties that that group has to the table, so at the end of the day, you get the best of the best of that group.
Right.
We have not only the parishes involved, but we have, the Homa Restoration District.
Right.
We've got the Homa Downtown Development Corporation. You've got the Chamber. You've got TITA. You've got Explore Homa, the Bayou Regional Arts Council. And I'm just touching.
That's just on the top of your head, right?
Right.
We can go on and on about all of those different programs that are really, and those entities that are all making a part of making Terrebonne Parish beautiful again and making Terrebonne Parish more functional. All of those things. And the parish partners with them and, more importantly, listens to them. So let's talk about this master plan and how people can come out and really share their ideas.
Sure. So right now where we are, like I said, is early planning stages. So we had done in the beginning of December, the consultants that the parish has, CSRS is one of our major recovery planning teams that's helping us. We have them, and we have Carbo Associates, which is a landscape architecture firm. So those are the two mains, right? They have subs under them to help with business and marketing strategies and stuff like that. But those folks, together with some of the key stakeholders involved, we walked the Main Street corridor. Basically, we went from Barataria to New Orleans Boulevard, but the project goes beyond that. It's Polk Street to Grand County Road.
Right.
But we walked with the team so that everybody had a chance to express some of the concerns or ideas that they've had to the consultant team and to each other. So now the consultant team is busy preparing basically a rough draft to come back to that key stakeholder group to say, okay, guys, did we capture everything that you said? Are we missing anything? And then once we have that rough draft in agreed upon form, at least saying that we have everything, then that's what's going to be presented to the public for review and comment. It's not to say that we have not gotten far with this thing. We want to bring the public in soon, on the front end, so we get all of those comments too. But you have to have something to talk about.
Right.
If we just bring people in for just this open conversation, we'll be there for a week.
Yes, and quite frankly, without parameters. You'll be there for a week without parameters.
Right.
And so we just need something to say, hey, this is just an idea. Let's build or work around this.
Right. There's nothing, no one's being excluded. This will have the public's input.
Right.
Absolutely. So, that's the only way to make it successful.
And the other thing that's really important about that is that y'all needed to do that kind of a walkthrough because downtown has changed so dramatically since the storm. Will there be a building here or not? Is there a permit that's going up for a building here or not? And kind of looking at what the topography of downtown looks like, or what it may look like when we start doing these things.
That's right. And when we look at the comments, both the ones that we've gotten so far or ones that we get in the future from the public, if there's a outcry for a particular type of building or business, okay, we know we have empty buildings, we know we have vacant properties.
Right. We have opportunities.
Exactly. So we could work with those property owners to say, all right, well, how can we incentivize? This is what people are asking for. We'd love to see it. We think your property has great potential for that type of use. What can we do to help, encourage that and incentivize that? Yeah,
and much like that plan is coming to fruition, the theater has come to fruition. Well, let's talk about the buses.
Yeah.
It's transit buses with some really cool designs.
Yeah, for the last couple of months, they've been having these white buses driving around, and I've gotten a few calls about it. Hey, what's the plan for these buses? I keep seeing them around town. And we knew the wraps were coming, but they were, I think like everything, there were supply chain issues or little delays. But they're out there now, and they look great. I don't have the list with me of all of them. I know that, I think there are 8
Okay.
specialty wraps. But it's, the library's got one.
Right.
Rougarou Festival has one. The Animal Shelter has one. Explore Homa has one. So be on the lookout for those. They look fantastic.
And again, that's just another step. And I love the fact that people need to kind of realize all of these things take a little time, but these are the steps that we're making. I got to tell you, walking into the theater with 2 full bathrooms on either side in its reconstruction of that old bank. I mean, quite frankly, there was a bathroom in a cell where was a jail cell years and years ago.
Yeah.
And there was one in a vault. And so just those things, as you change those things, it's just amazing to see. The buses are another thing. Just be on the lookout for some of the changes in Homa. There's a lot of them, and in Terrebonne Parish. And so, as we talked about downtown a little bit, we're going to take a short break, Chris. And when we come back, I want to talk about some of the things that may be happening parish-wide and some of the things that are happening that we kind of need to learn a little bit more about. If that's all right.
Sure.
All right. Well, Chris is going to stay with us. You do the same thing. We would appreciate you sticking around as we will talk a lot more about what's happening here in the good earth in Terrebonne Parish as we come back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
A new company with a lot of history. GIS Engineering has rapidly grown its brand around an experienced team of professionals. GIS Engineering is a full-service planning, engineering, procurement, and construction management company specializing in coastal protection and restoration, upstream and downstream industrial, and transportation infrastructure projects. Putting people first, GIS Engineering, a new company with a lot of history.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Alford, your host for To Your Health with Terrebonne General Health System. Our weekly show provides the latest in healthcare specialties only offered by Terrebonne General. Join us each Wednesday at 7 p.m. to stay up to date with the latest innovations in health. Terrebonne General provides healthcare breakthroughs in cardiology, cancer care, women's health, health and wellness, and much more. You don't want to miss our next To Your Health. See you then.
Pelican Waste and Debris is your local company. We don't just work here, we live here and understand the unique challenges that face our region. Our commitment to our community and customers and love for Louisiana keeps us motivated. Pelican meets every residential and commercial service need, offering roll-off, front-load, and compactor services, ideal for hotels, restaurants, apartments, construction or industrial sites, and much more. We also make recycling simple and cost-efficient, offering single-stream recycling program options. We have set the highest standards for environmental protection, community engagement, and guaranteed client satisfaction. Visit pelicanwaste.net or call us at 985-873-9553 to save money with hassle-free service. Our team has over 100 years of experience, so we know how to make you happy. The sky is the limit, so fly with the Pelican.
Structural heart disease refers to a defect in the heart's valves, walls, or chambers that keeps the heart from pumping blood properly. Valve or structural heart problems may be present at birth or develop over time. Your risk increases if you have high blood pressure, plaque buildup, history of heart attack, take certain medications, or have certain heart infections. The Structural Heart Program at CIS and Terrebonne General provides innovative solutions and devices with the latest technology to bring the best possible outcomes for patients. Learn more at cardio.com.
And welcome back to Going Public, sitting here with Chris Pulaski, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government Zoning and Planning Director. It's really interesting. Chris brought up a very good point. If you want to do the puzzle right, you got to start with the outside edges and work your way in. Well, we're always working on the inside and the outside when it comes to Terrebonne Parish. And so, Chris, an interesting point. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So we were talking about downtown and all the things that are going on downtown. Oh, those
inside,
middle pieces.
The inside, yeah.
So let's talk about the outer edges. Let's talk about Terrebonne Parish, some of the parish-wide things going on. Look, there's always stuff going on, I know, and we're all still in recovery, but let's just talk a little bit about what's happening through here at the parish.
Well, certainly, and I think Clay Naka has been on the program talking about it too, but we have public boat launches, the one at Robinson Canal that was recently built, that have public fishing piers. I mean, those quality of life projects, we're going to, I know Parish President Dove is really excited about those types of projects here. You know, we saw it with the Bayou Country Sports Park when they created the fishing piers there, and how successful that was.
And so very well used. Chris,
yes.
I live near there. There are people there all the time, even on bad fishing days.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. Is there a bad fishing day? Is there such a thing?
Well, if you're not working, it's always a good fishing day. But if you're not scheduled for work and it's not great weather.
Yeah.
So I mean bad fishing in as much as the climatology.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean.
Good fishing days.
You know,
like
on Island Road, you know, the state had recently constructed some fishing piers out there too, and so we knew how successful and popular that was, and of course from a safety standpoint, it's great because, you know, you could. I mean, some of these locations, people have been fishing on the side of the road for years.
Yep.
And because the fishing's good.
Yeah, great red fishing down there.
But it isn't exactly the safest thing. So these types of projects are good, and we're happy to see those, and hopefully we're going to be seeing a lot more of them. I mean, we of course have our FEMA demolition program that's ongoing.
Right.
And we'll start to see some of the fruits of that labor. And we have just general overall recovery planning that's still going on. So there's a lot of effort going into that. But, you know, there's also some other areas that we have to be mindful of that, you know, that people are still struggling with. I mean, we still have, you know, a couple thousand temporary housing units throughout Terrebonne Parish. Most of them are private sites. I mean, there's a couple of concentrations of, you know, FEMA or state group sites, but most of what's out there are still on private sites. And we're starting to see the numbers start to tip the other way, meaning more people are moving out, but it's still a process. And, you know, unfortunately, it isn't just people's homes that were damaged, but also, you know, financially it can be a challenge, especially when we're looking at, you know, the insurance rates and things like that.
And what a great lead in, because it actually talks about how some people can't necessarily get out of temporary housing because of the problems that come with some of the issues with both homeowner and flood insurance.
Right. So throughout the years, the parish has had a very successful home elevation program.
Right.
From storms going back, you know, even before Katrina and Rita.
Right.
But the one constant through all of those programs has been this flood insurance prerequisite. I mean, these are FEMA administered programs, so they're always going to look for that flood insurance component. Okay, fine. That even though that has been a difficult challenge for some, it wasn't impossible. Now what we're seeing, because of how FEMA has calculated flood insurance rates, those rates are so high that people, not only are they can't carry the flood insurance policy that they're required to have before before the storm came along. I mean, they have to have, it has to be already in place. But not only that, but even once they participate in the elevation, or in the case of Ida, most of its reconstruction, they're required to carry flood insurance in perpetuity, forever.
Right.
Right. And even if they sell it, if I sell it to you, you have to carry the flood insurance.
Right. And so that makes it so very difficult on resale.
It's scary because they can't afford it. So a lot of people are saying, well, I would love to participate because I need my home reconstructed, but I can't, or I don't want to because I'm scared about the flood insurance. I mean, it's not a mandatory program.
Right.
So we can't make people participate, but I mean, a lot of them are choosing not to because of how expensive flood insurance can be.
And it's something that maybe those who are making the decisions with Risk Rating 2.0 don't understand. That's
correct. You know, this was something that we've we're monitoring and explaining to FEMA, again and again. This is before Ida,
Right, right.
probably about a year ahead.
A year before Ida.
Right. And said,
Probably
guys,
since Laura over in Lake Charles.
yeah, I mean, basically what they're doing is taking out the data, and by data, I'm talking about the flood maps.
Right.
And we have brand new,
Right. They've
October of 2021, brand new flood maps.
They've just
that
been drawn.
We haven't, as a parish, we haven't even formally adopted them yet. But that is the best data as far as where flooding is likely to occur and how much, right? But they seemingly have just ignored that and focused strictly on proximity to water. Well, in Terrebonne, that's everywhere.
Exactly. And it doesn't even come into account the Morganza to the Gulf in the protection levy.
Well, the flood maps, that was one thing. That's why we were fighting since 2008. They don't have all of the structures because at some point when they drew those maps, they had to say, okay, well, what's out there is out there and new stuff we'll take into account and we can do revisions as time goes on. So the flood maps have gotten better, but them choosing to basically ignore all of that data and science and just go with this proximity thing, well, the first thing is in Terrebonne, the highest ground is closest to the bayou.
Right. LaConch subdivision.
And that people don't understand that. And I can see where that would be a difficult concept for someone not in this area to really get their head around. But that's the reality. And so people's flood insurance rates are going up. The parish president and other parish presidents from across southeast Louisiana have been meeting monthly to discuss this for better part of a year. They're going to be making more trips to D.C. to meet with our congressmen to talk, and with FEMA, to talk about the impacts that that's having. And we're seeing policies being dropped, not just in Terrebonne, not just in Louisiana, across the country.
Right.
Because everyone's flood insurance, it seems, is going up. I mean, I don't live in a flood zone, but my flood insurance has gone up $100 from the year before. If I were to have a new policy written on my at my property, I think my flood insurance was originally about $680 a year. It would be $3,600.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have to have flood insurance because I don't
Because of
live
where
in
you
a
live.
flood zone.
Right.
So if it comes down to the point of, well, if I have to make a choice between, say, paying a child's tuition or some other major purchase versus flood insurance that I'm not required, well, some people may not have that ability to have both.
Right.
So they're going to drop the flood insurance.
Right.
Well, then whatever rate they had is gone because now any new policy would have to be at the new rate. So they're defunding their own program.
Yeah, it just doesn't always make sense. And so one of those, it's kind of interesting. I had the value because of Charlie Cook, my dear friend, a former PA here in our community for many, many years. He's a pilot, and I got to fly over the parish. And Chris, this is probably 15 years ago. Can't imagine how much more water there is.
Yeah, more water. I mean, and like I said, with the new method of calculating, no matter how much of the storm protection, and not just Morganza to the Gulf, but even inside the system, all the stormwater management projects, all the pump stations and everything.
Right.
All of that, it's almost, no matter how much is done, that method of calculation, it makes it really difficult to see the benefits of it from an insurance, from a standpoint, from a monetary. I mean, hey, look, stuff isn't flooding. That's good.
Right.
We see those benefits, but when it's hurting the pocketbook the way it is, it can be difficult. And homeowners insurance too.
Right.
I mean, it's going up. I mean, one good thing that's happening is, we just, in January 1st, we have new building codes that came out. It seems like the state and the International Code Council are looking for ways to build stronger. So I would encourage those people, if you're seeing your homeowner insurance rates go up, if you have a newer home, there are certain certifications that you can get. Talk to your insurance agent. Make sure you're getting all of those discounts, because you'd be surprised
at
what's
the types
out
of
there.
discounts people can have.
And if you just take that little bit extra effort, it might cost you $100, $200, whatever, to have, say, an inspector come out and certify something. But if that $200 investment saves you $2,000, well, there you go.
It's very much worth it. Chris, some great information. We appreciate it very, very much. Thank you for always being so passionate about knowing what's going on with the parish and being able to share that with the public. Because there's a lot of things I don't realize that people know. They don't necessarily know the good things or some of the challenging things. And so it's always helpful to be able to do that. So thank you for coming and sharing that with us here on Going Public. And we look forward to all the options where people can participate and find out about all of the good things going on with Main Street and those things that are happening. We appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, thanks for your time. All right, guys, that will do it for this particular segment of Going Public. Stick around. There's a whole lot more local programming here on HTV.